Hello, my name is Megan Gilbert, and I'm back for another installment of the video series where we are discussing the book Cold Case North. So last week we basically learned about the reason why Jim Brady and Abby Halkett were actually out at the Foster Lakes area in the first place, and it was because they were prospecting for uranium. So there's a number of uranium prospects out around the Foster Lakes area, and they had been employed to essentially go stake some claims in that area for the Foster Lakes Mining Company. So this video is essentially going to be putting into context where exactly they were trying to be as opposed to where they ended up. Because there are some maps in the book, but they don't really do justice to how vast an area it actually is and how far they actually were from where they were supposed to be. So I'm going to once again share my screen with you because I've prepared a little PowerPoint. All right. So this was the map that I essentially had ended off with describing to you. So this is like a very rudimentary or a very basic map of where the showings were, and I had discussed with you what exactly a showing is. It's where minerals are showing at the surface of the general region that they were interested in. So this is the Upper Foster Lakes area here. This is showing number 1, 2, 3, and then there was another showing down in here, but that wasn't really the focus of what they were working on. They were mostly interested in this area. So they were supposed to be set down right here. So this is Middle Foster Lake, this is Upper Foster Lake. And if we actually look, this is what the Foster Lakes look like in real life. So it is a number of very long, very skinny lakes. And to give you an idea, this right down here is 5 kilometers. So you can really get a sense of scale here. So that little claim map that I just showed you was essentially of this area right in here. So this is the Upper Foster Lakes area, and then it kind of turns into a really long, skinny Middle Foster Lakes, and this is the Lower Foster Lakes right in here. So this is essentially the area that they were supposed to be in. So they had been driven to Missinippi to take a flight north to the Foster Lakes area, and they had been drove by a fellow named Barry Richards, who was a geological engineer, actually. And he has a very, very rich history spanning Manitoba and Saskatchewan, which I will do a video on him because he actually writes a book that I'll reference at the end of this little video section here. That's relevant to Cold Case North. So they had driven up to Missinippi, and they were taking a flight out, and they were intended to be put down in here. And the fellow who was actually scheduled to fly them out, this was only his first couple days on the job, so he wasn't particularly familiar with northern Saskatchewan in general. He was a good pilot. It wasn't an issue of that. It was more or less that he was just a little bit green on the region. So they had a number of claims in the area, the Foster Lakes Mining Company, and Barry Richards was a part of that. So that is why he had employed James Brady and Abby Halkett to actually be part of this, and they were partners in it. So the book really does explain that. It explains it in chapter 7, which starts on page 58 in the book. So that chapter is called The Drop Off. So this video is referencing this chapter quite extensively. So this is just to give you a sense of where their claims were and what exactly they were doing in this area. So once again, they were supposed to be dropped off on the middle to lower on the Middle Foster Lake. So essentially, in this area right in here. So that's really where they wanted them to be dropped off. That's where they wanted their camp to be. It was close to the showings that they were supposed to be investigating. It was also close to the claims that they were supposed to be marking, because how staking worked back in the day is you would actually be taken to the site of the claim. So a claim is like your mineral claim, where you would be working on the mineral rights for that region. And you would actually have to put in claim posts at each of the 4 corners. So there was a huge industry in La Ronge in particular for actually going out and doing this, because it was manual, demanding physical labor. And Jim Brady and Abby Halkett had been employed to do just this. They were putting in claim posts, and which the book does discuss this. So And actually one of those claim posts and the date on that claim post ends up being, you know, kind of part of the mystery, but it's relatively easily solved why there was some discrepancies with the date. But read the book if you actually want to know those tiny little details. So that's what they were set out to do, is they were set out to stake some claims for the Foster Lakes Mining Company. However, the pilot had put them down here. So this is lower Foster Lakes. So you can see that there is a tremendous difference between where they were set down and where they ended up. And you would assume that after, you know, 2 or 3 days or so, that they probably would have recognized that things weren't quite adding up. And that essentially adds to the mystery of where exactly these guys were, what they were doing, how this mystery unfolds, and really adds to the whole you know, essence of the story. So that's the extent of the video that I wanted to do for you today. But I have heard that there are some people interested in knowing from the last video some of the information regarding how uranium forms and why it's found in the Athabasca Basin and why it's found here in the Foster Lakes area and why the geology is so different. So my next video will focus on that. I'll put out a video kind of explaining the differences between where we find uranium and why. And because it is a naturally occurring mineral, right? It wouldn't exist on Earth's surface if it wasn't a naturally occurring mineral, but I can explain to you how exactly that takes place. And another book that you should read, if you're really enjoying Cold Case North and you really enjoyed it, another book that you should read is actually by Barry Richards, who's the fellow that I just referenced, who was actually employing James Brady and Abby Halkett. This book is called Gold and Other Stories, as told to Barry Richards, and you can actually take it out at the Alex Robertson Library here in La Ronge. But it's also available. You can buy it online and stuff. And it's essentially a series of stories told to Barry Richards and then transcribed. And it includes the James Brady and Abby Halkett story, as well as many, many others about mines and claims and stuff and goings on in northern Saskatchewan involving the mining industry. So I will be putting out a video based on that book. And if you're interested, you should definitely read it. And until next time, if you have any questions, once again, put them in the comment section. I'd love to make little videos and explain whatever it is that you're interested in. And until next time, I guess I'll see you later.